the thing that I find fascinating about Agamemnon as a plot is that not a lot happens in it, right? Not a lot actually happens in the play. It begins with a monologue from the watchman, looking out from the parapets of Argos, Agamemnon's city, basically watching for the beacons to be set alight. These beacons, almost like in the Lord of the Rings. This line of beacons will be lit, and it'll signal to the people of Mycenae that Troy has fallen and that Agamemnon's been victorious and that he'll return home. And it's one of those great things that actually, to say that this is a tragedy, it actually begins quite comically. It begins, you really feel a sense of these are quite fun characters in a way. I love the fact that he said, obviously we'll have different translations, but he basically says, I've been standing here for 10 years and I'm sick of the constellations. I'm tired of the sky itself at this point.
Yes, exactly, yeah. He also said this, but he also said that there has been tremendous mismanagement at the House of Argos.
Yes.
And I think what is a bit comical is after the elders of Argos who come and they're very much against Clytemnestra, who was Agamemnon's wife. And you can definitely see them as, the people who just stood there sitting, doing nothing and just complaining about things. That was what I found very funny about it. But they're just like any other play. We have the watchman looking at the signals and telling us basically that there has been mismanagement at the House of Argos, which implies that basically there is something that needs to be addressed. There is an injustice that has to be somehow mitigated.
And if anyone should be able to arrive on the scene and redress these injustices, it should be Agamemnon, because he is a king. And he is a great leader of men. Of course, it was he and Menelaus who went to Troy.
He is, but the question is whether he got the credit for other people's actions, like Achilles' actions. The Iliad doesn't exactly paint a good picture of Agamemnon.
No, I don't think it does. No, I don't
think
it does.
He got all the credit for what the others did,
So I just wanted to read this bit because literally third page of it, because it really sets the tone for one of the major themes which we're going to be presented with throughout the rest of the play, so the chorus basically catching the audience up on where they are in the timeline, what's happened so far. And of course, all of the Athenian citizens would have known the tales, but it's just for their benefit. But there's an interesting bit here where it says, Greece and Troy with bellowing effort lock their limbs in that accursed marriage and labour at the killing. Spear shafts splinter in twisting bodies. Strong men kneel in their own blood under weights of darkness, and what is happening cannot be otherwise, cannot not happen. Fate holds every man of these two embattled armies by the scruff of the neck and jams his face, helpless, into what has to happen. Right? So you get very, very early in the story the idea of predestiny, of some outcome that really these men, yes, they are their own heroes and they do have their own valor, but they are all ultimately puppets of the gods and the gods' design and whatever the gods' plans are for them. And of course, this is a major part of the play, because one of the things that it comes to very quickly is the fact that it recounts that Agamemnon, in order to gain the favourable winds that would take him and his army to Troy, he has to sacrifice his own daughter, Iphigenia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Artemis decrees that that's what has to happen. And so we get the first great moral quandary of the play.
So, as you said, it's basically a sort of Chad Jackish play, because not that much happens. And we have the chorus and the watchman saying in the beginning that, we're waiting for 10 years and basically nothing happens.
Yes.
So it's, to an extent, a sequel. because the chorus is very extended. In other tragedies, especially, for instance, in Sophocles, the dialogue starts almost instantly. But here we have very extended choruses. And it just goes on and on and on and on. Because the chorus gives us simultaneously the idea that something bad has happened at the house of Argos, at, the kingdom of Agamemnon. But also they tell us what happened. And they try to so Aeschylus tries to bring into the mind of his spectators, people who watch the play, the context. And as you said, yes, Agamemnon had to sacrifice his daughter for favorable winds, because that was what the oracle told him the gods want.
Yes, Calchas, isn't it?
Yes,
the seer
Calchas,
interpreted the
yes.
omens.
And what is very much interesting to remember is that there is something that is really close to the Odyssey here. In the ancient Greek mindset, I have to say two things.
Okay.
Number one, about hospitality.
Yep.
Number two, what you said about fate.
Yes.
Which is where I deviate from several scholars of antiquity.
Okay.
I'll say why and for what reason.
Yes, please.
So when it comes to hospitality, one of the main features of ancient Greek mythology, especially after it had been codified by Hesiod, was that the rule of Zeus is just, because Zeus, unlike Cronus and Uranus, combines unmatched power with wisdom. So he swallows Metis, who was his wife and represented wisdom, and out of that event, Athena was born. That's why, as you'll see, Athena has always a very easy time convincing Zeus about everything. So she calls the shots, basically. He has a very soft spot for her. And she is, contrary to Ares, who you could say he's just the god of war. And in that respect, he is really close to the Titans, who are just about raw power. Athena represents raw power and wisdom, because she was also the goddess of warfare and wisdom.
Yes, of course.
So she's much closer to Zeus, where Ares is a bit closer to Cronus and the Titans. One way in which philosophy becomes a bit more, interesting in mythology is you go from the more general to the more specific. So it's one thing to say, don't violate Zeus's order, don't violate justice. And quite another thing to tell people what justice demands. Because if I tell you be good and be virtuous, you're going to ask me, okay, please enlighten me.
Yeah, what is that?
What is that?
To you.
So that has all sorts of all sorts of ramifications. One interesting ramification is hospitality. Zeus wants people to be hospitable, but he also wants guests to not abuse hospitality. So, for instance, in the Odyssey, I'll be very quick. I'll start from the Odyssey and then move to the Iliad and then to the Oresteia. And I'll be very brief. In the Odyssey, we have two parties that violate this law. Polyphemus, the Cyclops, who was a host, and he was bad to his guests.
Yes, he was.
Okay? And he paid for it. And then we have the suitors, who abused Odysseus's hospitality. That was essentially the injustice that had to be addressed. And both Odysseus and Telemachus were the instruments of divine justice. But the same thing happens before the Iliad. The same thing happens with Paris.
He abuses the hospitality of Menelaus by taking Helen.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
So that was something that suggested that the order of Zeus has been violated and has to be addressed. That's why Calchas told Agamemnon essentially, this must happen. Unless you do this, you violate Zeus's order, and you are also one of the forces of chaos, essentially. And Agamemnon was caught with that horrible dilemma whether to be unjust and violate Zeus's order, which was the big no-no of the moral system of the mythological times, or sacrifice his daughter, and he chose to do the latter.
Yeah, he talks about there's the passages here where it's Agamemnon weighing it up. He says, "If I obey the goddess and kill my daughter, what do I become? A monster to myself, to the whole world, and to all future time, a monster, wearing my daughter's bloody dress like a turban, the king of cruelty, painting my royal palace afresh with her blood, the blood of Iphigenia, perfuming my bath after the battle with the blood of Iphigenia, filling the drinking cups of my family with the blood of Iphigenia. This is how I shall live on in men's minds. But if I deny the goddess, then what happens? Will it be worse, an utter defeat for us all and for me, disaster, as if I deserted this army, disguised, a traitor to my oath, shorn of honour, shunning men, shunned by men, and wherever men gossip together, a term of contempt, an outcast on the earth, the rest of my life skulking its corners, afraid of my own name." So, one of the things that I find most interesting about that is that in both of those scenarios where he weighs up what will happen if he does this act, Agamemnon seems to be less concerned with the moral decision of which it is, and more with what will his reputation be, if based on which one he does.
If you enjoyed this piece of premium content from the Lotus Eaters, head to our website where you can find more.